Hello, my name is Jack, and Grinding Gear Games has released all of the Ascendancy classes for the upcoming early access of Path of Exile 2 on the 6th of December. There's gonna be 6 classes, and each of them will have 2 Ascendancy, and in the full release, there's gonna be 12 classes, and each of them is gonna have 3 Ascendancies, which is fucking crazy. That is a lot of work they're gonna have to do. Let's look at the ones that we will be able to play for the early access. First off, this is an Ascendancy class for the witch called the Bloodmage. She has an ability that you pretty much always will have to take called Green and what it does, it gives you your skills have a base life cost equal to your base mana cost, but you also give life remnants. And the way that this works is when you kill an enemy, it spawns a life remnant. And you can pick up this life remnant, which can overflow your maximum life. So imagine your health bar is full, you pick up a life remnant, and now you have additional life over your maximum life. This playstyle works a bit like health pots from Diablo 3, actually. It immediately reminded me of that. And one thing that I always wanted is Spell Life Leech. This one is very interesting because it was only ever possible in Path of Exile 1 to leech Energy Shield on spells, but not life. And then another one, the number 3 is Open Source. Your curses have infinite duration. This one could be really nice if they add Hex Blast into the game. This one would be extremely good for bosses, right? But in general, it is in general very good for all kinds of bosses. You only have to apply the curses once, right? And you can just never have to think about it ever again, which is quite nice. Number 4, Blood Barbs. Gain 10% of damage as extra physical. Elemental damage also contributes to bleeding magnitude. Oh, that's really interesting. So basically, what this does is it means that your elemental damage can bleed. Or you can no, well, magnitude is something else than like inherently bleeding an enemy. Well, basically you apply a bleed and you do elemental damage, and this elemental damage increases the power of the bleed. Magnitude is something that we still have to explore exactly how it works. Number 5, Ghost Spike. Increase critical damage bonus per 40 life. So this is like a life stacker ascendancy node. Very interesting. This one is very nice. I think life stacking as a witch with this ascendancy could be really good, considering how much survivability you get from being able to spell leech and from your sanguimancy. Number 6, Sunder the Flash. Base critical hit chance for spells is 15%. For those of you who don't know, the base critical strike chance, every weapon has a base critical strike chance. Most weapons are like 5%, 6%, 7%. 7% is already a high, right? Especially when you have like rare modifiers, which increase like base critical strike chance. The old Ascendancy Assassin actually has one which increases the base critical strike chance. 15% is a lot. Like a lot. That is a crazy powerful node. I'm expecting a lot of crit builds to show up with this node. Number 7, Grasping Wounds. 25% of life loss from hits is prevented, then that much of life is lost over 4 seconds instead. So that is basically that one red active gem called Petrified Blood. It's pretty much how that works. Except it doesn't actually reserve your life. Very interesting. I like it. It basically gives you a buffer of not getting like immediately one shot, right? Let's say you take your entire life bar as damage. Let's say you take you have 5,000 health. You take 5,000 damage. You're gonna take 25% of that, which is 1,250, I think. you're gonna have left over, which you're gonna take over 4 seconds, which you can then heal up. So good survivability options. I think there's another unique, it's that amulet that everybody used. It's something called Red Destiny. It also works like this, kind of. Crimson Power, number 8. Gain energy shield from equipped body armor is extra maximum life. That is very nice, because one of the problem that a which doesn't use energy shield always had is that you need blue sockets, so you need items which require intelligence. Obviously, we don't have that problem anymore, as our items as we don't socket or gems into our items anymore. But still, it would always be the case that the good life roll is obviously not on the intelligence chest, it was always on the strength chest. And this is a really good way, because you can reach high amounts of energy shield. You can reach like 700 plus base energy shield on a chest item. That is a lot of base life. Like, you could only reach like 100, I think 40 plus 10% increased maximum life from like certain nodes. So that's another like node with a lot of survivability. That's gonna shoot up your life bar like a lot. Next up, the other ascendancy we were able to play for the witch is Infernalist. This one looked really interesting to me. Number 1, Altered Flesh. So you start over here, the diamond. 20% of cold damage taken as fire damage, 20% of lightning damage taken as fire damage, 10% of physical damage taken as chaos damage. So that is something that they consciously removed from the game in Path of Exile 1. They did not like the fact that players could convert the damage they were taking to one damage type, mostly, and then just like crank up the maximum resistance. For example, Righteous Fire builds would do this a lot. They would wear certain helmets which would take like other damage types as fire damage, and then Chieftain had an Ascendancy node which would take other damage as well as fire damage, and they would have like 90% fire rest and just not take any damage because they only take fire damage. So I'm surprised they're bringing this back, but I like it. I think it's one of the more interesting ways to design defensive options. Number 2, Beta's Gaze. Reserves 20% of life plus 1 maximum mana per 6 maximum life. Interesting. So it's like a bit of mana stacking, kind of. It depends on how much life you have. Number 3, Beta's Will. Reserve 20% of life plus 1 to maximum spirit with 25 maximum life. Okay, now we are already reserving 50%. Where's our life bar? But spirit is actually one of the new resources in Path of Exile 2. They are reserved. Spirit is reservation for your auras, right? In Path of Exile 1, you reserve auras by either reserving your life or your mana. In Path of Exile 2, you have spirit, which you have a certain amount of spirit, and auras will take up that spirit, so you don't have to reserve your life or mana bar, which is a really great change. Number 4, Beta's Hand. Reserves 25% of life plus 1 to maximum energy shield per 8 maximum life. So if we reserve, let's say, 75% life from these 3 Ascendancy nodes, we get a total of, we get spirit, energy shield, and mana. I'd say that's worth it if you can. I think this will put you at low life too, so you could use Pain Attunement keynote. If you have enough energy shield, this is totally worth it, right? So this is the one that I was really interested about, which we saw in the trailer, which looked amazing. Demonic Possession Grand Skill Demon Form. So this is something that Path of Exile couldn't do before, and Jonathan has talked about this quite a bit. In Path of Exile 1, they couldn't transform the player's model into other models because they were restricted by the engines, and the model framework that we're using. So now they can do stuff like this, right? They can turn you into a demon. Shapeshift into a demon, vastly boosting the power of your spells. You gain demon flame every second. You remain in demon form, causing your life to be lost at an ever increasing rate. Oh, it works like Last Epoch Reaper form actually. Revert to human form if you reach 1 life, use a skill that isn't a spell, or reactivate the skill. So it actually does work like Reaper form from Last Epoch. What exactly is Demon Flame? I'm not certain. It doesn't really say. Or is Demon Flame the debuff? Oh, or is it the debuff? Every second you remain demon cause. Oh, yes, it is the debuff that loses your life. Okay. Pyromantic Pact. Number 7, maximum mana is replaced by maximum Infernal Flame. So this is the one that we saw. It replaces mana with a new resource, Infernal Flame. Gain Infernal Flame instead of spending mana for skills cost. Take maximum life and energy shield as fire damage when Infernal Flame reaches maximum. Oh, interesting. So this converts all damage to fire damage when you have Infernal. That is very powerful. That already tells me that I should invest into fire resistance a lot and maximum fire resistance as an Infernalist. Lose all Infernal Flame on reaching maximum Infernal Flame. Oh wait, what? But when Infernal Flame reaches maximum. Oh no, I read it wrong. Take maximum life and energy shield as fire damage when Infernal Flame reaches maximum. Okay, so you never want to hit maximum. It's a bad thing. You take your maximum life in energy as, oh, that's really bad then. Okay, never reach maximum life, never reach maximum Infernal Flame then. 10% of Infernal Flame lost per second if none was gained in the past 2 seconds. Okay, so there's like a mechanic where you pretty much continuously decay Infernal Flame so you don't just stack it. That's interesting. So you would take the maximum life energy shield as damage, and then you would get thrown out of demon form because it reached 1 life. So there's an old mechanic in Diablo 2, and if you watch my channel, you have seen it before. It's a mechanic with the werewolf form from Diablo 2, and it works like this way. You get hit while in werewolf form, and when it would kill you, it would actually put you at 1 life. And the reason why Blizzard did that back then is because they didn't have a death animation for the werewolf. So you can't actually die in the werewolf form because there's no death animation. And the reason for that is when a player in Diablo 2 dies, he has to drop the body. And the werewolf form cannot drop the player body, so he needs to revert back and then die. I'm wondering if they purposefully designed it this way, that when you get hit in demon form, like, and it would kill you, you revert to human form first, and then another hit would kill you. If they purposefully designed it this way, or if you just straight up just die inside demon form, right? That's one of the things that I'm absolutely gonna test out, probably involuntarily. Let's keep going. Number 8, Bringer of Flame. While not on low Infernal Flame, all damage from you and allies in your presence contributes to ignite chance and magnitude. Oh, that's really cool. So you could also make this a minion build where you summon a bunch of fire minions and then rack up your Infernal Flame and then work as an ignite build. That's really cool. It also makes a lot of ignite stuff like really viable. That's nice. Number 9, Seething Body. While on high Infernal Flame, you and allies in your presence gain 20% of damage as fire damage. Okay. So it's like, it works like extra damage, like in Path of Exile 1. 20%. I mean, 20% is 20%. Can't, A gift horse is a gift horse. Loyal Hellhound, number 10. Grand skill, summon Infernal Hound. Okay, there are the minions that I was talking about. Summon Infernal Hound, summon a reviving Infernal Hound. Okay, so they self-revive themselves like the other minions, which is really nice. Which ignites enemies near it. The Hound takes a portion of damage from hits for you. Oh, that's really nice. And they just ignite enemies by being near them. Oh, that's really good. 10% of damage from hits is taken from your Hellhound's life before you. Oh, that's really good. You can so so you can convert to fire damage, have the Hellhounds which take 20% of damage for you. I can see a lot of survivability in just these Hellhounds. That's really nice. 11. Grinning Immolation. Become ignited when you deal a critical hit, taking 15% of your life energy as fire damage per second. 30% more critical damage bonus. Wow, that's a more multiplier. More. So in Path of Exile, there are certain keywords which mean different things. There's increased and more. Increased is basically, let's say you have 100% increase, that is not 100% like multiplication. It works differently. Like the formula for that I'm not even go into because it's too complicated. But more is that multiplication. That is 0.3 times, right? Multiplication. So that's a lot of critical damage bonus, especially since let's say you managed to hit like 400% critical damage bonus from your items in your skill tree, and then the 30% gets slapped on top of that 400, right? It multiplies your end result. Very, very strong. You can probably deal with this ignited thing by just simply having enough like life regen or energy shield regen. There's probably also these like old Aegis Aurora like on block energy shield gain builds, which can probably also deal with this stuff. Next up, the Monk. This one I find very interesting. I didn't really like the Monk, but this Ascendancy looked great. The Acolyte of Chayula. For those of you who played Path of Exile 1, Chayula is one of the Breach Lords, and she is the Breach Lord that is attributed with the Chaos element, which is why you already see a lot of this stuff is gonna be Chaos themed. Let's look at this. Ravenous Doubts, Mana Leech is instant. Amazing. Amazing in every way. You want this. This is like every build wants like somehow, some way to leech mana so you don't have to constantly press a mana flask. That is amazing. 2. Consuming questions. You cannot recharge energy shield. Mana leech effect also recovers energy shield. That's really interesting. This could be actually better considering how much mana leech you could potentially gain. It might actually like energy shield leech was always the worst version of leech because life leech had Vaal Pact and Slayer, right? Why you like energy shield leech is not bad at all. Just life leech was always better because Slayer could overflow the life leech, so the life would continuously leech even though he was full health, and Vaal Pact would increase the life leech to like a ridiculous amount. Number 3, Chayula's Gift. Plus 10 to maximum chaos resistance. Chaos resistance is doubled. So this was one of the anointed nodes on the Path of Exile 1 skill tree. Except the plus 10 to maximum chaos resistance is new and is also really nice. I would always pretty much take this because if chaos resistance was anyway the way it was in Path of Exile 1, players were always struggling for chaos resistance because it wasn't a common like modifier on items like the other resistance types, like elemental resistances. So really good note. Really good note. Number 4, reality rending. Chance to gain 3% chance to gain 25% of damage with extra chaos damage. So this note, I don't even need to finish reading it. This is one of the notes that came from the Trickster Ascendancy for the Shadow. I don't remember the exact name of the node, but it's pretty much 1-for-1 taken from there. So it gives you a bunch of chance to gain extra damage with hits as extra chaos damage. The hitting 100% of your entire damage with extra chaos damage is crazy. Obviously, it just doubles your damage. So not a bad node at all. Number 5, Waking Dream grants skill into the breach. Creates a breach around you, allowing you to see nearby flames of Chayula. You are considered to be in a breach while the skill is active. Flame of Chayula. Collecting Flame of Chayula grants the following bonuses. Red Flames of Chayula leech 7% of your maximum life to you. Wow, that's crazy. Blue Flames of Chayula leech 7% of your maximum mana to you. Purple Flames of Chayula provide a stacking buff, granting 7% of damage as chaos damage for 5 seconds, and stacks up to 10 times. So you could gain a total of 70% of damage as chaos damage. So if I read the wording on this correctly, granting 7% of damage as chaos damage, it converts your damage type to chaos damage. Damage conversion. Damage conversion is one of the things that GGG actually didn't like, because we were doing crazy things like converting Vortex to chaos by converting it into fire and then converting it into chaos. Like, players were doing all kinds of crazy stuff with damage conversion. Another one is the Call of the Brotherhood, which you would then use, and those ring things, Catalyst, they're called Catalyst, and you could put the damage conversion to 50%, and then you would equip 2 Callers the Brotherhood, which would convert your lightning to cold damage. And people would use this, for example, on Divine Ire, which was very powerful, as it was like a channeling ability that would constantly deal damage around you and then release like a beam, right? It would just like freeze shock everything instantaneously. Very, very strong. Chaos damage, especially converting to chaos damage, was always difficult, because chaos damage is a little bit unique, as most monsters do not have chaos resistance or have really low chaos resistance. Even the bosses, like the pinnacle bosses, only have like 33% chaos resistance. Like, chaos damage was always like the best damage type. If you could convert all your physical damage to chaos on like a build that does like 100 million damage, you would potentially exponentially increase your damage by a lot. That's a really powerful node, especially for survivability. Next up, Embrace the Darkness, number 7. Remove all spirit. Okay. Raise maximum darkness. Okay, so it replaces your spirit with darkness. Interesting. For each life or energy shield lost to damage, reserve 1 darkness instead if possible. Darkness reservation lasts for 10 seconds. Plus 5 to maximum darkness per level. Huh? How the hell does that work? So, but do you still reserve? Do you reserve with darkness, or do you reserve or do you just not reserve anything? Grasp of the Void, gain 1% of damage as extra chaos damage per 20 unreserved darkness. Huh. Inner Silence, 50% reduced darkness reservation duration. So this is something I have to actually just test, because I'm like, it just depends on how this works, right? Does it mean that when I press an aura, it will reserve the amount of darkness instead of spirit, or will it just reserve 0 because I don't have any spirit? Or can I just reserve like as many auras as I want? Like, That's one of the ones that I have to test, but this might be like a gateway to some really strong builds, like aura stacking builds, if it works that way. 5 for maximum darkness per level, so like at level 90, 90 times 5. Dude, that's a lot actually. How much is it? 400, 450? 450 darkness plus base 100, 550. That could be really, really good. And then 1% of damage exit per 20. So now we would like do some math over here. You can't see it, but I have the calculator open. 550 divided by 20, 27.5% of damage is extra chaos damage at level 90 if everything is unreserved. Okay, like this is one of the things you have to like kind of test in the game. Can't really, doesn't really tell you a lot. Kind of have to play it. Go to the next one. The Monk Invoker. We saw this a bit as well. It's heavily on elemental damage, if I saw it correctly. Number 1, lead me through. Oh, so you start here, the diamond. So that's one of the branches. Gain 1 spirit for every 6 energy shield on equipped body armor. Gain 1 spirit for every 15 evasion rating on equipped body armor. Cannot gain spirit from equipment. Huh. Okay, so that is something that is also taken from the Trickster Ascendancy, not from the Shadow, which pretty much, but it was a bit different. You basically would gain extra energy shield based on your evasion. Now you gain extra spirit based on your energy shield and evasion. That's interesting. So, if you stack enough energy shield and evasion on your body armor, you probably outweighs the spirit you could gain from equipment. And protect me from harm. Evasion rating also grants physical damage reduction. 40% less evasion rating. No, that's still worth it. I think that's still super fucking worth it, because one of the problems that Rangers in every build that uses evasion rating as their type of defensive always had is you cannot have 100% evasion rating, which means at some point you are going to get hit. And that hit is going to kill you because you don't have any physical damage reduction, as physical damage reduction comes from armor. Right. So Duelist actually solved this problem because Duelist does both, right? They use armor and evasion rating, which makes them very survivable, because they would have like 90% evasion or whatever it was, like 70, 80, whatever it was, and then they would have like the same amount in physical damage reduction, and they would just avoid everything. And the one time they got hit, they have like so high physical damage reduction that they just don't care about the hit. But 40% less is a lot. This is another one of those like increased and more, but it's the negative way. There's decreased, and less is like the multiplicative negative version of more. 40% less is a lot. Like that's a serious cut into your evasion rating. It might still be worth it though. It might still be worth it. You can probably do some stuff, like gain extremely high evasion ratings, and then on top of that probably use armor as well. Not bad at all. Kind of have to like play around with it. Number 3, faith is a choice. Grand skill, meditate. Meditate, challenge to recharge energy. Oh, that's cool. So you channel an animation which probably makes you stand still to recharge your energy shield. Can overcharge your energy shield up to double its normal maximum. Wow, that's really good. Channeling ends when you take damage. Oh, okay. Or your energy shield is double its normal max. Okay, so you can just hold the button and it releases out automatically when you reach like double your normal maximum. This skill cannot be used if your energy shield is already double its normal maximum, or you have no maximum energy shield. That's a really good ability, especially for bossing. I wonder how fast this channels the energy shield, right? Because if you can modify, like, let's say it's based on your like energy shield regen, you could do a build where you have extremely high energy shield regen, and you just stand there and you're just channeling your energy shield, and you have some kind of cast on damage taken or cast on stun like build. Probably not cast on stun because it would break the meditation. The cast on damage taken, right? And you just take damage. The enemy is hitting you, and you just dish out damage while like infinitely regenerating your energy shield. That's really nice. That's a great ability. Number 4, I am the Blizzard. Gain 10% of damage extra cold damage. On freezing enemies, create chilling ground. Okay, great. Create chilling ground, but where? Create them under the enemy or create them under yourself? Create them on where the ability hit. Would be nice to have a little explanation on where. Another thing I have to test. Number 5, I am the Thunder. Gain 10% of damage extra lightning damage. 35% chance on shocking enemies to create shocked ground. Shocked ground is very strong, but also how strong is the shocked ground? Like shocked ground can go from like 10% to like 50%. How much like damage taken increased will the enemy have? Doesn't say. Is it based on your shock magnitude that your character has? Probably. Have to test it. Number 6, and I shall rage. Grand skill Unbound Avatar. I've read this ability before. This is an ability for the for the Ascendancy class for the Ranger. Raider had this. Gain Unbound Fury by inflicting elemental ailments with hits on enemies. Once you reach maximum Unbound Fury, consume it to become unbound for duration, vastly augmenting your elemental powers. Yeah. That is straight up Unbound Avatar from the Raider Ascendancy class from Path of Exile 1. Number 7. The Soul Springs Eternal. Meta skills gain 35% more energy. I have no idea what a meta skill is. Is it like a new gem tag? It must be. Or is it like, are those like skills given to you by weapons? Maybe. I don't know. It's no clue, honestly. No thing you have to play around with in the game. Number 8, Sunder My Enemies. Critical hits ignore non-negative enemy monster elemental resistances. So this is an Ascendancy node from the Inquisitor Templar Path of Exile 1. Pretty much the same thing. Non-negative enemy. Oh, non-negative. Okay, so the wording is different, which is really good. So what it would do in Path of Exile 1 for the Inquisitor, it would completely ignore elemental resistance. But that would also mean if you curse an enemy with like curses to negative elemental resistances, it would turn it to 0 because it ignores enemy monster elemental resistances, right? What this specifically does, it only ignores it when the elemental resistance of the monster is positive. That's a really good change. And it's only critical hits. So yeah, that's a good change, like in the wording too. So you can still curse enemies and reduce the elemental resistances to like do more damage really with your elemental skills. But when they say an enemy has extremely high elemental resistance and your curse cannot drop them below 0, it counts as 0 elemental resistance. Which is probably gonna be the case for most bosses, like especially pinnacle bosses. Number 9, and scatter them to the winds. Grand skill, elemental expression. Trigger elemental expression on melee critical hit. Creates a fiery explosion on arcing bolt of lightning. On an icy wave of projectiles, the chance for an explosion is proportional to your strength. For bolt, proportional to your dexterity. And for wave, proportional to your intelligence. Jesus, that was quite the wording. Elemental expression. So they're like explosions when you. So it's proportional to your attributes. So each attribute has a different damage type, which is fire for strength, lightning for dex, and cold for intelligence. But what do you mean proportional? If I have 100 strength, does it mean I have 100% chance to trigger on melee critical hit? Nonetheless, that's a really good ability. It's gonna help a lot with clear. Like, I can tell that's a good ability, like a good clearing ability. There are some builds which use tri-element builds, which is like you have a weapon which does like fire, lightning, and added cold damage. So this is probably gonna be one of those abilities which you would want to pick for a build like that. Let's see what we have next. The Ranger, Deadeye, one of the old Ascendancy. Let's see how they change it up. Ability. 30% chance that if you would gain frenzy charges, you instead gain up to a maximum number of frenzy charges. That's an old one. Really good, still really good. This one pretty much helps you with clearing and bossing, especially when you have like an ability that says like 10% chance to gain a frenzy charge when you hit a unique monster, blah 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 blah. This would just gain you the maximum. If you stack frenzy charges, you're gonna have like 6 or 7. So that's a good ascendancy for sure. For keeping up your frenzy charges. Number 2, Thrilling Chase. Benefit from consuming frenzy charges for your skills and a 50% chance to be doubled. Like the power of the consume, or like what exactly is doubled? Consuming frenzy. So there's certain abilities which consume frenzy charges. One of the more well-known is like Flicker Strike. Flicker Strike, for example, consumes frenzy charges to continue flickering without a cooldown. There's some other ones. There's, for example, Cold Snap. There was a Transfigure Gem which lets you, or like an alternate quality or something, which lets you consume frenzy charges instead of power charges. And there's some other ones as well. But 50% chance to be doubled. What exactly does that mean? Like, the wording is really, really weird on that. Does it mean like 50%? Like, what exactly? It just says doubled, but like, what exactly is doubled? Have to try it out. Number 3, Eagle Eyes. You have no accuracy penalty. Oh, that is so good. Accuracy penalty at distance. Accuracy was one of the stats which I always hated the most, because it is simply the fact that if you are a caster build, you don't have to deal with accuracy because your spells always hit, right? But if you are a melee or a physical like range build, or like any build which hits with like a bow or like a weapon, you have to care about accuracy, which is horrible, because at like later stages of the game, you have to have a lot of accuracy to have 100% chance to hit. Even 95% chance to hit feels horrible to me. So, which means that, but here's the problem again. They did the nearby thing again. What does at distance mean? What distance? What distance? Can you just give me a number, or like a radius or a range? Like, why is it like at distance? Like, what is distance? What distance? What is that distance? God damn it. That's one of the feedback I'm definitely gonna give to GTG. Nonetheless, amazing Ascendancy. If you can keep your enemies basically, I'd say like at the top of your screen, at like the range of your screen, of your monitor, you don't have to care about accuracy. Number 4A, point blank. Oh, these are like options. Oh, so you get one node and you choose. This was normally only the Scion had this in her Ascendancy because she had like Ascendancies to choose from for her wheel. So point blank and far shot, these were keynotes. Point blank was actually a keynote on the tree, and far shot was only for the Deadeye. Point blank projectile deal 20% more hit damage to targets in the first 3.5 meters of their movement, scaling down with distance travel to reach 0% after 7 meters. So here they actually give us a distance, right? They actually give us a distance which can be translated into the game. Like certain abilities are probably gonna have like they reach this range and then like these amount of meters and then they stop existing. Wait. They spelled meters here wrong. It's meters and here it is meters. There's a typo in here. Far shot projectile deal 0% more hit damage to targets in the first 3.5 here as well meters of their movement, scaling up with distance travel to reach 20% after 7 meters. Yeah, pretty much like Path of Exile 1. No big changes at all. Same with endless munitions, skilled fire, and additional projectile. That is just straight up the same ascendancy from Path of Exile 1. Kind of disappointing, honestly, because like if you look at some of this stuff, right? Like there's some really cool, unique stuff in here, and I don't know why it's just like gain additional projectile. It's kind of boring, right? 6 card shots, you can apply an additional mark. Okay. 7 gathering events, gain tailwind on skill, lose all tailwind when hit. Tailwind is probably still the same, against your movement speed, skill speed. Skill speed is actually really nice. It increases the speed at which your animations play. Basically, if you've ever picked up a Shrine of Acceleration, a Path of Exile 1, that is, for example, Shrine of Acceleration increases your animation speed, which is amazing. Also increases evasion rating per stack. So Tailwind has always been really good, right? 80% less damage taken per Tailwind. I'm really unhappy with this, like, Ascendancy as a whole. Like, this really doesn't feel like a Path of Exile 2 Ascendancy, like, at all. Like, if you compare just, like, to these new ones, they have, like, some super new and interesting stuff, right? Like, some super cool, like, demon form and, like, over here, like, Spell Life Leech and, like, Life Remnants and stuff. And this is just, like, this feels like a Path of Exile 1 Ascendancy. Kinda don't like it. I feel like this already needs a rework. But, I mean, it's early access, right? Maybe they are reworking it. This one is called the Pathfinder, which is also a Path of Exile 1 Ascendancy. For the Ranger. Number 1, Connected Chemistry. 50% more flash charges gained. Okay. Number 2, Enduring Elixirs. Life flask effects are not removed when unreserved life is filled. Life flask effects do not queue. Yeah, pretty much the same as Path of Exile 1. Contagious Contamination. Number 3, the most damaging poison on enemies you kill is spread to other enemies for 1.5 meters. So I was hoping this one would be back. This one's really popular with poison builds. This is basically poison proliferation, and it works especially well on certain content where there's continuously spawning enemies. For example, in Path of Exile 1, this is heavily used in Blight. Blight players love poison proliferation. Basically, you poison one enemy, it dies, all the other enemies get poisoned, they die, and so forth and so forth. That is what makes it amazing for clearing. Overwhelming Toxicity. Number 4, double the number of poisons you can inflict on enemies. 35% less poison duration. Double. So, for those of you who don't know, in Path of Exile 1, there used to be no limit for the amount of stacks that you could have with poison, which led to some fucking insane builds where there would be so many poison stacks it would literally lag the server. And then GG was like, okay, like this is just getting stupid. And they put a limit to the amount of poisons you can stack. I think, what was it? I think it was like, what was it? Maximum. What is the maximum amount again? Wasn't it like 200 or 1000? I think one of the two. I can't remember. Let's keep Google it. There's no limit? Is there really no limit? Oh, there is no limit. Okay, was there something else where they put the max stacks on? If there is no limit, that means that this is crazy, right? Because there's certain builds which can put like a stupid amount of poison stacks on the enemy. Like the less poison damage isn't like obviously it's gonna be like less damage, right? But what you can do is you can purposefully reduce your poison damage with like certain support gems which give you more damage but reduce your poison duration, and just make your poison super powerful but have almost no duration, and you just like spam poison stacks on the enemy. So this one is very strong. So we have another one with a multiple choice brew concoction. So each one is like an elemental type. So we have poison, lightning, cold, fire, and bleeding. Bleeding is actually no. Like the other ones already like existed basically. Consume charges from your mana flexes to a bottle that yeah, okay. Dealing unarmed chaos, attack damage, and add poison inflicted. This has more. So this is one of the abilities which comes from Path of Exile 1. Specifically, poisonous concoction and explosive concoction were in Path of Exile 1. It's an ability that you can slot in skill, that you can slot into your equipment. This is basically just like a specific build that people like to play. And Path of Exile 1 also, it was the case that the concoction would actually bounce on impact, right? So you would throw, let's say, the explosive concoction, it would explode and then continue bouncing like multiple times to continue exploding. I don't know, it doesn't seem like that's the case over here. And number 6, Traveler's Wisdom, grant 5 passive skill points. Okay, I guess with the Scion now, like this is something that the Scion used to have. Because the Scion would take like had like this special wheel where the Scion could like start from another character's like starting point, and the Scion would gain passive skill points on like the small nodes and the end big node, which would give 2. Interesting. I mean, 5 is like an entire node wheel, right? Like that's really good actually. Number 7, running assault, 30% less movement speed penalty when using skills while moving. Oh, that's interesting. But this is kind of creating a problem and then telling you the solution to the problem, right? Because why do you inherently gain a movement speed penalty? I mean, I guess it's better than Path of Exile 1 where you have to stand still while shooting. Never mind. That's pretty good then. Now that I think about it. Number 8, when relentless pursuit, your speed is unaffected by slows. That's really good. That's really good, especially for builds, which is like, especially Ranger with Tailwind, right? I mean, you can't get Tailwind because it's not the Deadeye, unless it's rollable on like items, which I don't believe. But a lot of these ranger builds, they go for a lot of movement speed. They go for like 250% like movement speed bonus. And just absolutely rushing through maps. So that one is really good. Next up, we have for the new sorceress, the Stormweaver. Which focuses on lightning damage and all kind of stuff that comes from it, like shock. Number 1, Scouring Winds. Exposure you inflict lowers the effective resistance by an additional 20%. That's amazing. That's so good. That's so powerful. Exposure like can be from like 10 to 50% depending on what skill applies the exposure. So that would put it at, let's say, 15 plus 20. That's 35%. Plus the curse, like the elemental resistance, like lowering from your curses, like an elemental resistance curse, and the other one is called conductivity. That's really good. That's really good. This also comes from the Elementalist Ascendancy from the Witch from Path of Exile 1. She used to have a version of this. She still has that in Path of Exile 1. Number 2, Tempest Caller. Grant skill Elemental Storm. Trigger Elemental Storm on critical hit with spells. Ooh, that reminds me of that unique amulet. It's called Core of the Storms. And what it would do is when you would crit, the enemy would get hit by a lightning strike. Creates a stationary fire, cold, or lightning storm. Okay, so you get all damage types depending on probably what kind of damage you do. Storm at a target location for duration based on the highest elemental damage. Yep. Type for the hit. The trigger the storm. Hits which do not deal elemental damage will not trigger the storm. Nonetheless, that's pretty good. You can build around that. That's a cool like build enabling Ascendancy node. Number 3, Rain Dancer. Elemental Storm has 150% more cooldown recovery rate. So you have more uptime on your storm. That's nice. Number 4, Heavy Snows. Target can be affected by 2 of your chills at the same time. Chill is actually stronger than people think because chill doesn't just slow you, right? It's not a slow. What chill does, it reduces your action speed, which reduces the speed at which animations that you use play. That's what makes it really powerful, and which means that if you can like have 2 chills on one enemy at the same time, let's say you have like a really strong chill, like 50%. I don't think it hits to 50% actually. Could be different, obviously, because Path of Exile 1, Path of Exile 2. Not sure if they kept the exact. It says capped at 30%. So that would make it 60%. So 60% less action speed. That is really powerful. That was really powerful, actually. Your chills can reduce action speed by up to a maximum of 35%. Okay, they thought about it. Never mind. I should have continued reading. They thought about it. 25% less magnitude of chill. Okay. Okay, they thought about it. Like, if this was just this, like this over here, like the first line, that would be like the most powerful Ascendancy node in the game. But they thought about it, sadly. But 35%, still a lot. Still a lot. That is still like a big decrease in action speed. 5. Shaper of Winter. All damage from hit chills contribute to chill magnitude. So this is also from the Elementalist. Which means that no matter what damage type you're doing, you always chill. So you could be doing fire damage, it chills, lightning damage, it chills, chaos damage, chills, physical damage, it chills, right? Number 6. Strike twice. Targets can be affected by 2 of your shocks at the same time. 50% less shock duration. So they actually didn't like put like a cap on it like here, right? That's actually really good because shock actually can go to 50%. But then it's less duration. 50% less duration is like a lot, but if you can somehow create shocking ground, that's really good. That's a good note for sure. You can gain up to 100% increased. That was it increased or more? Pretty sure it was like increased, but there's like a specific formula to it. Whatever. 8 constant gale. You have Arcane Surge. Arcane Surge gains 10% more cast speed, 10% more mana regen. So they actually nerfed Arcane Surge then, because Arcane Surge would actually grant more spell damage, right? They severely nerfed Arcane Surge. That's kind of sad. Arcane Surge is a gem, which a support gem in Path of Exile 1. Basically, you would sock it into one of your active skill gems, and when you used a certain amount of threshold of mana, Arcane Surge would activate and give you the bonuses. This is just, you always have it. There actually was an Ascendancy node in Path of Exile 1 which had this, and it was the Hierophant, which had pretty much this node. Number 9. Force of Will, increasing effect of Arcane Surge on you per 15 maximum mana. Okay, that's nice, but this doesn't give me like 10% more cast speed is nice, right? And more mana regen is also really nice, but this doesn't like, I mean, it does give me damage because it has cast speed, but it doesn't give me direct spell damage, which is disappointing. And like perfect 15 maximum mana, so 10. So I would need 1,500 mana to increase 100% increase effect. That's easily hittable for like a mana stacker. Could be some mana stacking stuff, like going over here. Just basically stack mana and then like dump your mana on like a singular spell cast. Depends on if like Archmage support is in Path of Exile 2. 10. Heart of the Storm. 40% of elemental damage taken recouped as energy shield. That is amazing. For those of you who don't know what recoup is, basically you take, in this case, elemental damage. That 40% of this is now then saved and given back to you after, I think, after 4 seconds. Or like over the span of 4 seconds. What we got next? This one looked really interesting. The Chronomancer for the Sorceress. Number 1, now and again, skills have 33% chance to not consume a cooldown when. Wow. That's fucking crazy. That is so powerful. It means if you're lucky enough, like if you can gain, dude, is there a way you can get like cooldown reduction? What if you could just spam like a certain spell? Like, oh, that's really powerful. Number 2, Unbound Encore, Grand Skill Time Snap. Time Snap manipulates time, resetting the cooldown of your other skills. Wow, there's some really powerful stuff in this Ascendancy. Like, the one that I would use this with is like a really high damage ability, which has like a cooldown to it. I would think like, for example, Wall Firestorm, something like that, right? But in the term of Path of Exile 2, this could be like a really build enabling thing where you like drop a meteor, it has a cooldown, like you hit this when now and again you have a like the cooldown that isn't consumed, you drop the meteor again, you use time snap, you drop a third meteor. I want to try this. I want to try like a meteor cooldown build. Number 3, Ultimate Command, Grand Skill Time Freeze. So we've seen this in the trailer. This one looked really cool. Release a larger wave that stops time for all affected enemies for duration. Duration is lower. The more times the enemy has had time stopped for them. So that's like this is one of the coolest spells I've seen in Path of Exile 2 so far. It releases like a wave, and the enemies just literally stop in place. They can't move, can't attack, can't do anything. Really fucking cool. Footprints in the Sand, Grand Skill Temporal Rift. Passively leave after images of your recent past. Cast a spell to return to the oldest after image, teleporting to their location and resetting your life, mana, and energy shield to the value they had at the time. So Temporal Rift is an active skill gem in Path of Exile 1, and it works exactly like the way described here. They took it over and turned it into an Ascendancy node. Quicksand, Hourglass, number 5. Every 12 seconds, gain 50% more cast speed for 4 seconds. So this is a bit from the Elementalist, from the Witch. It was called Pendulum of Destruction. And it would, like, every 4 seconds, you would gain, like, a big buff. On this case, every 12 seconds. So it's technically every 8 seconds because the duration is 4 seconds. But 50% more cast speed is like a really, really high amount. That is very, very strong. Apex of the Moment, number 6. Enemies in your presence are slowed by 20%. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. You have like a slow aura. Like, that is especially nice for kiting enemies around. Like, having like a constant slow aura around you. And then it, without a doubt, stacks with chill. Oh, that's really, you could make like a really cool like chill effect build with this, where the enemies are just like literally so slow they can barely even move. That's cool. Circular Heartbeat, number 7. 30% of damage taken recouped is life. That's really good as well. I've explained recoup already. Number 8, the Rapid River. Recoup effects instead occur every over 4 seconds. Okay. So it is after 4 seconds, and this essentially makes it over 4 seconds. That's good though. Like, that's a good defensive mechanism. Like, especially with like this time freeze stuff and all this other stuff. There's some cool stuff in here, for sure. Let's look at the next one for the Warrior. This one people look really forward to, from what I've heard. The Titan. Number 1, Stone Skin, 50% more armor from equipped body armor. Wow, that's crazy. If Brass Dome, which is the unique with the highest armor rating, is in Path of Exile 2, this is like ridiculous. Like, if I remember correctly, how much can Brass Dome reach? Was it like 2,000 or 4,000 armor? It was like a high amount. Why can I not find that? The Brass Dome. Yeah, it was like 3,000 to 4,000 armor it can actually reach. That is insane. Like, normal armor, like rare armor pieces, can, I think, also hit like 1,500, maybe 2,000, depending on like how lucky you are. So that would make it like straight up plus, like on like a 2,000 base, it would give you like plus 1,000 armor, which is like crazy. Like, that alone, like 3,000 armor alone is like already extremely high. And then it get exponential, like that is base armor, right? So it gets exponentially increased when you use increased armor. Let's look at the other ones. Earthbreaker, number 2. 30% chance for slam skills use yourself to cause aftershocks. Aftershocks are bursts of air damage that occur after the initial impact of the skill causing them. If not otherwise specified, the aftershock will deal the same damage as the initial impact is in the same area. Think of it like you using an ability, and that ability like echoes, like repeats after a certain amount of time. That is really, really cool. A lot of people really like this kind of play style. I say, dude, I kind of want to play Titan. This looks really good. Ancestral Empowerment. Every second stamp skill used yourself is ancestrally boosted. Ancestral Boost. An Ancestral Boost skill has 20% more damage in area of effect. Wow. Wow, that's a lot. 20% more damage and area, 20% more area of effect. That is gonna be like your entire screen. I promise you. Every second. This used to be every third, I think. Or like it was like on a cooldown or something like that. This was like a support gem. A support gem. Colossal capacity, number 4. Carry a chest, which adds 20 inventory slots. Oh my god, they have never done something like this before. That's insane. That is like that you can put like 2 full, like 6, like you can put like 2 full armors and like oh, that's a lot. Damn. That's crazy. Titan actually the best map runner. It has extra inventory slots. Number 5, Hulking Form. 50% increased effect of small passive skills. That's nice. That's especially nice for attribute stackers. This is gonna be the ascendancy for attribute stacking. Because all the attributes are small passive skills, right? That is gonna be amazing. Like, that is a really, really, really good ascendancy node. That is gonna be very good for attribute stackers as well. Especially the strength stacking. Depends on if like we have certain items on the game which lets us enable strength stacking, like by giving us damage for attributes. Number 6, crushing impacts. Your hits are crushing blows. Wow, that's very good. Crushing blows cause a heavy stun on enemies that are primed for stun. Very powerful. In Path of Exile 1, this used to work different. Crushing blows like reduce the enemy's like physical resistance. In Path of Exile 2, it now, as I just read, it like works with stun. Pretty much prime for stun, the way you achieve this is by using like certain abilities to prime an enemy for stun, and then use like an ability with heavy like that causes like stun damage, and then you get a crushing blow and does a heavy stun. If I remember right, this one is actually pretty long too. It's like 3-4 seconds. Surprising strength, number 7, 40% more damage against heavy stunned enemies. Oh, ow. Heavy stun. Hitting an enemy builds towards a heavy stun based on the damage dealt. Different enemies have different heavy stun thresholds and durations, with very large monsters having a high heavy stun threshold. Players cannot be heavy stunned. When an enemy is heavy stunned, they cannot act and count as immobilized. Physical damage and melee damage each cost 50% more heavy stun build-up. These bonuses are multiplicative with each other. Okay. So that's how that works. I'm guessing that you can actually... This is Quinn69's favorite ascendancy. Like these two right here. You can actually do like a stun build. In Path of Exile 1, DDD severely nerfed stun at a certain point, because players were like literally perma-stunning bosses. It was hilarious. Like, the Shaper could not move. He literally couldn't do anything. Like, he was just stunned the entire time. Until he hit his invulnerability phase. And then GGG was like, okay, this is ridiculous. And then they severely nerfed stun. But it's nice to see that they're bringing stun back and they're letting players like do stun builds again. Number 8, Mysterious Lineage. 15% more maximum life. That's a more multiplier. That's really good. Would have been nice though if it was 20%. 15% is a bit too low in my opinion, but still really good note. That's gonna be a big increase for sure. Next up for the Warbringer. Number 1, Anvil's weight. Break armor equal to 10% of hit damage dealt. Break armor. I actually don't know what armor break is, and sadly doesn't explain over here. Number 2, imploding impacts. You can break enemy armor to below 0. So this like interacts with like enemy physical damage reduction or the enemy's physical resistance. Have to really. I would like an explanation how break armor exactly works. But like from this ascendancy node alone, I can garner that enemy has like armor, like physical resistance, and you can break it to 0 without with something below 0. So you can do more damage with physical damage if the enemy has below 0 armor. Number 3, Jade Heritage. Grant skill Encase in Jade. Gain a stack of Jade every second. Encase in Jade. Consume all sticks of Jade to grant a buff for duration that absorbs all damage from hits, up to a maximum based on the amount of Jade consumed. Well, in case you cannot move or perform action. Okay. That's interesting. I'm guessing you can regen your life while inside the Jade. So it's like, this is like Ice Block from World of Warcraft a bit. Except like it's like you're not immune, it just absorbs based on the buff. Interesting. Like this could be probably really good for like unique bosses which have like telegraphed like attacks, like big attacks. You can probably see the attack coming. You encase in Jade, it absorbs all the damage, and you keep hitting. So I'd say that's a good ability for sure. Number 4, Answered Call. Grant skill Ancestral Spirits. Trigger Ancestral Spirits when you summon a totem. Each of your totems will summon an Ancestral Spirit minion. Ooh. I've been wondering if they would do this for a while. Like, Marauder, the Karui have these, like, lore of these Ancestral Spirits. I was wondering if they would add, like, Ancestral Spirit minions, which, like, fight with you. This is cool. If the totem that summoned that minion dies, then the Ancestral Spirit will too. Okay, so you summon a totem, and the totem summons the Ancestral Spirit, which then fights for you as a minion. I think that's a cool idea. That's like build enabling, that's cool. Number 5, Wooden Wall. 20% of damage from hits is taken from your nearest totem's life before you. That's very nice. Good amount of survivability. Renly's Training, number 6. Gain 40% base chance to block from equipped shield instead of the shield's value. From equipped shield instead of the shield's value. Huh, interesting. Not sure how exactly that works. Turtle Charm, number 7. 35% less block chance. Can block damage from all hits while shield is not raised. Right, so in Path of Exile 2, block works different than Path of Exile 1. Block is actually an active ability that you have to press. It's like a stance, right? In Path of Exile 1, you would just passively block. It was just like a thing that would happen when an enemy attacks you. Now, you have to raise your shield and like be in that block stance to block. And this turns it into the Path of Exile 1 version, which is way better, obviously, because like if I saw it correctly, this block stance, it makes you like slower, and I'm not sure if you can use your attack skills. You probably should be able to, because then it would like kind of defeat the purpose of the block stance, right? Number 8, Warcaller's Bellow. Corpses in your presence explode when you war cry. Oh, dealing 25% of your life. Oh, as physical damage. Oh, that's amazing. That's a Detonate Dead build. We have Detonate Dead Warcry build. Oh, I wonder if we get Desecrate. We probably get Desecrate. Oh, that's really build enabling. That's amazing, actually. Especially when you find corpses which have like a lot of life. like those fucking those golden statue corpses which used to have like stupid amounts of life, and Detonate Dead players would detonate them and they would like do ridiculous amounts of damage. Number 9, Great Wolf's Howl. Ignore Warcry cooldowns. Oh, okay. So this synergizes really greatly with Warcaller's Bellow, so you can just spam it. There's some really cool stuff in this one. Some really cool build enabling stuff. Feels nice. Gemling Legionnaire for the new mercenary, which is a Gemling Legionnaire. We actually encounter some of these guys in Path of Exile 1. They are a side quest in Act 8. On the right path, you'll meet these Gemling Legionnaires. And they basically, as you can see in the artwork, they embed gems into their body. Crystalline potential, 1. 10% of quality of all to quality of all skills. So this was in an item called Ashes of the Stars, together with this one. And it would pretty much give a stronger version of this. It was like a roll, like it was like you can hit like 20 to 30% to quality of all skill gems. Exactly. And this is 10%. 10% is a bit low, honestly. I was hoping for 20%. That would make this like way more worthwhile. But it also depends on how quality works in Path of Exile 2. They might have like severely changed like the qualities. Number 2, implant the gems level of all skills. That's just straight up good. Like, right? Skill level is always good. Just alone going from skill level 20 to 21 with a corruption was already powerful. With this, you can hit 22. And then together with like amulets and like other stuff, you can hit like 28, 27, which is really, really, really good. And like gems continue scaling all the way to level 50. If you somehow manage to hit that. I don't think anybody has ever hit gem level 50, to be honest. Advanced Thaumaturgy 3. 30% less cost of skills have 30% more attribute requirements. I'd say that's worth it. 30% is like not a super lot. You can totally hit that. Most of the times when you like hit like mapping or like you hit your like end game like mapping builds, you have way more attributes than the requirements is. So this is gonna be like easily no problem to deal with later on. I don't know how it looks like early on. Number 4, integrated efficiency. Grants 3 additional skill slots. Are these like the slots which you put your active skill gems in? Oh, that's interesting. Especially because the mercenary has like all these like different grenades and like ground effects and like bursts of like crossbow bolt stuff, and that's really cool. That's cool. Makes you more versatile for sure. 5, gem studded. You can use 2 copies of the same support gem in different skills. Oh. 2 copies in different skills. Oh, you have to be way more creative with your support gems. Oh, damn, I didn't even see that. So you can't just use the same support gem in another setup, even though you have it in, like, let's say you have, like, lightning arrow, and you can't use added lightning damage in, like, another setup? Oh, that's interesting. That's really good then. That is really good then. I didn't know it worked like that. Thaumaturgical Infusion 6. Plus 1% to maximum cold resistance per. Oh, I can already tell this one's really powerful. The full blue support gems socketed. Okay, and there's red gems socketed, green set. Like, maximum resistance is always powerful. Even just 1% is super helpful. And like per 4. Depending on what I saw, you can have multiple sixlings, right? So you can probably hit like 5% extra easily. That's really, really, really strong. Maximum resistance is always powerful. Adaptive capability. Attribute requirements of gems can be satisfied by your highest attribute. Let's say you have 300 dexterity and you want to socket a gem which has 155 intelligence requirement at level 20. But you can just use your dexterity instead. That's amazing. That's so good, especially for attribute stackers. That's amazing. Number 8, enhanced effectiveness. Inherent bonuses from intelligence, strength, and dexterity are doubled. I actually don't know what the inherent bonuses in Path of Exile 2 are. I think it was like life, accuracy, and maximum mana. I'm not sure if this is accurate though. Don't take my word for it. But that's really good though. Especially for attribute stacking. Like these two nodes, like this Ascendancy looks amazing for attribute stacking. The last one, the Witch Hunter. Number 1, Weapon Master. 20 passive skill points become weapon set skill points. Weapon set skill points? What exactly does that mean? So, oh, right. So in Path of Exile 2, you can swap between 2 weapon sets, right? And each of the weapon sets have like a different setup. Can have like a different setup. That's really good. That's really good. That's really good then. Culling Strike. Hitless Killer, number 2, gives Culling Strike. How much? How much percentage? Culling Strike kills normal enemies if the life is at 30%. Oh, wow. 30% for normal enemies. Magic enemies instead are killed at 20%. Rare enemies at 10, unique at 5. Okay, so Culling Strike was always one of the most powerful mechanics because, right, you can, what you used to be able to do, there was a support gem which gives you Culling Strike, and you would just like, this was especially popular with bosses. The Slayer Ascendancy in Path of Exile 1, for example, had a 20% Culling Strike, but it would cull everything, not just, it would cull everything at 20%, including unique bosses. So you just hit a unique boss, like a pinnacle boss, 20%, dead. That is what makes Culling Strike so powerful. And I think like 30% for normal and 20% for magic, 10% for rest. Like this is gonna be really good for mapping as well. Absolutely great Ascendancy. Number 3, Judge, Jury, and Executioner. Decimating Strikes. Decimating Strike. Hit against 4 life enemies, remove between 5% and 30% of life before the damage of the hit is applied. Interesting. So every time you would hit an enemy, let's say you hit an enemy with a bow attack, with a crossbow attack, and they have full life, instantaneously 5 to 30% of life gets instantly removed before the damage of the hit is applied. Then the damage is of the hit applied, and let's say you also have Culling Strike, it puts them below 30% and they instantly die. Wow, that is very strong. Especially for bossing. If this works, if I can just instantly hit 30% of a boss's, like unique boss's life away, that's crazy. That's insane. Like together with Culling Strike, wow, that's one of the most powerful Ascendancy nodes, like of them all. Witchbane, number 4. Enemies have maximum concentration equal to 40% of their maximum life. Break enemy concentration hit equal to 100% of damage dealt. Enemies regain 10% of concentration every second if they haven't lost concentration in the past 5 seconds. Concentration. Enemies have less cooldown recovery rate the lower their concentration. Scaling down to 50% less cooldown recovery where concentration is 0%. Okay. So you can pretty much lower monsters' cooldown recovery rate. Interesting. Which means that also means that monsters have like use skills which have cooldowns. Very, very interesting. But that is very good defensively then. Number 5, No Mercy. Deal up to 30% more damage to enemies based on their missing concentration. 30% is a lot. Like 30% is a lot. That's amazing. That's a very strong knowledge. Number 6, Obsessive Rituals. Grant skill Sorcery, I can't speak. Sorcery ward. Oh my god, I can't speak English. 50% less armor and evasion rating. Sorcery, oh my god. Sorcery, there we go. Sorcery ward. Oh my god. Speak English. Passively manifests a protective barrier which takes elemental damage from hit for you until depleted. The barrier instantly recharges to its full value a short time after it stops taking damage or is fully depleted. It takes only elemental damage from hits, so no dot damage. I don't know if this is worth it. Like 50% less armor and evasion is like, that's a big decrease. I'd rather have the armor and evasion, I think. I'm not sure if this is a good note at all. Like most monsters, I'm not even sure if most monsters do only elemental damage, and then it's only hit. It's not even dot damage, right? Like you can get ignited, and ignite is not like it doesn't hit. It's like a damage over time effect. And I actually wouldn't take this as a note. I don't think it's good. Let's see what's behind it. Ceremonial Ablution. Number 7. Increased effect of Sorcery Ward. Sorcery Ward recovers 50% faster. Still, I don't think I would take this. Like, the armor and evasion is just too good, honestly. Dallas Inquisition, number 8. 10% chance for enemies you kill to explode. Oh, here we go. Dealing 100% of their maximum life is 100% of their maximum life is physical damage. Wow. Chance is doubled against undead and demons. Oh, we're incorporating enemy types. This is something that was more like cared about in Diablo 2, where you have like damage to demons and like damage to undead like modifiers. That's interesting. Like, but 100% of their maximum life, dude. Like, you're gonna kill one mob in a pack, it's gonna explode the entire pack. The entire pack is gonna explode. Like, that's very strong. That's very strong. It is 10%. That's like 10% is not a lot, but it's still like completely achievable. Overall, very, very strong Ascendancy class. And those were all the Ascendancy class. Bloodmage, Infernalist, Acolyte of Chayula, Invoker, Deadeye, Pathfinder, Stormweaver, Chronomancer, Titan, Warbringer, Gemling Legionare, Witch Hunter. And as I said, we're gonna get 6 more classes. And each class is gonna have a total of 3 Ascendancy classes, which puts us as 36 Ascendancies. Crazy. I'm only disappointed by these two, by Pathfinder and Deadeye. I was really hoping more for rework, but this is like kind of lackluster. I hope they rework these two. The other ones, there's so much cool, unique stuff in here, right? Like, there's so much like things that we have really never seen before in Path of Exile, right? Like, so much really cool. Like, especially like they you can tell they worked so much on melee. They worked so much on like Chronomancer, like all these like cool stuff. Like the new mercenary that they added, like, to give players more of like a first-person shooter feel, like a shooter feel. Like, you're not just playing like an ARPG, you're playing a bit of a shooter too, like a twin-stick shooter, like a top-down shooter. Like, there's so much cool stuff in here, and if they continue like the design philosophy with classes like these, I'm really looking forward for the full release and all the other cool stuff they're gonna have in the 1.0 version of Path of Exile. So those were all the Ascendancy classes we're gonna have for the early access. I'm gonna be posting another video, a little FAQ for all of the players who are a little bit new to Path of Exile, as we have a new influx of new players who are interested in the game. So stay tuned for that. My name's Jack. See you around.